Well, hey there.
Hello. We're back.
We're back. Hey, everybody. Hey, all the people.
Hello.
We are here to talk about the documentary that right now is on Apple TV called Stiller and Meara, Nothing is Lost.
Right.
This is a documentary that Ben Stiller made as he was going through his parents' apartment, his childhood home, after the passing of Jerry Stiller, and going through mounds of footage and memorabilia and memories, and also reflecting on his own choices as a parent, really reflecting hard on his parents' choices as parents, and kind of trying to get a sense of like who did it better.
Right.
And is it possible to do it better?
I think for some of us that may have gone through our parents' stuff, Jerry Stiller apparently recorded so much. Like there's a lot of their lives on tape, which has got to be trippy when you're going through your parents' stuff after they've passed. It's like, well, they didn't just have a collection. They had a collection.
Yeah, so for me, it was the audio recordings that
Right.
seemed the strangest. I think Jerry Stiller comes off looking, I think, really good in this for the most part. He just seems like he's as great as you probably thought he was, for the most part, it seems like. But the one thing he was doing is a lot of audio recording of conversations. Now, the thing is, it seems like the dynamic between him and Meara was that she was naturally funny and he worked hard on being funny. And it seemed like she could just be funny off the cuff. Maybe I'm trying to give him a little bit of understanding here. Maybe on some level he was thinking that at any moment there was material in here for the show, for their show.
Yes.
And their comedy partnership. And a lot of the documentary talks about the lines between being a couple and being a duo on stage, and the blurring of those lines, rehearsing at home, maybe arguments not being understood by kids. Wait, are they arguing or are they doing a bit right now? You know, and just like one sliding accordion door in the apartment, and that like don't disturb them if they're on the other side of that, because they are rehearsing. Like
And
that
little,
sentence could end differently in certain people's households, probably. But they're rehearsing.
just like you said, the when they mentioned they went out of their way to mention the sliding door, keeping the kids away from the parents as they worked, and the kids, kind of heartbreaking to be like, are they working, or are they fighting, or is
Right.
this part of the act, or is it real?
Right. And this documentary definitely gave me lots to think about. I feel like it's so much about marriage, creative partnerships, when it's a marriage and a creative partnership, also about parenting and the choices you make and trying to balance being a parent and having some type of career. I think everybody watching this, for the most part, who is a parent is going to feel that struggle, because it doesn't really matter if you are an actor or a comedian, or maybe you are a nurse, or whatever you do. Like all those professions I could be listing off right now, things that get require a lot of your attention, but then your children also do. And there's so much to talk about in this, and I feel like I'm probably already leaving some threads untied off in things I've started saying. But Jerry Stiller. So maybe he was always hoping that a conversation could lead to material. I feel like it
Right.
probably did with him a lot, but also maybe a desperation. Like it was almost like hoarding conversations.
Yes.
And there was a lot about Jerry Stiller and Ann Meara's childhoods too, and the way that both of them, I think it said at one point, they both came from dark places looking for light. and she experienced losing her mother to suicide at a young age. He had a dad who, based on the recordings that he was already doing at that time, when his own father was still living, sounds like Jerry Stiller's dad was really discouraging and maybe competitive too. He was at one point saying, like, I wanted to be an actor. I could have done that. It seemed really like just heartbreaking all around, and that Jerry Stiller was kind of self-sustaining. He had his own little eternal flame flickering there, his belief in himself, and was maybe always looking for validation and success from his projects, from the public, adoring fans. There was probably just a giant cavern of need for encouragement and approval that needed filling. And it seems like maybe Meara had the fearlessness of someone who's lost something huge at an early age.
I get that from the documentary, yes.
Like, Stephen Colbert talks, who lost his father and brother when he was young to a plane crash, talks about that kind of like fearlessness when you realize, like, wait, something to the effect of, I don't really care about authority anymore because look, things didn't go like the way they're supposed to go, and now I'm just trying to, make my mother laugh in his case, and maybe just realizing that anything can happen. There are no rules. There's a lot of pain in life, like a certain loss of innocence that maybe gives you an edge. And I feel like she had that kind of edge and that fearlessness, this belief that she could just go up there, and she's very smart, very comedically ingenious, and could just go up there and figure out she knew her character well enough and could probably improvise a bit.
Right. And had that free-flowing, they kind of touch on that she wouldn't agonize over the script, as it were, that they'd come up with as much as Jerry Stiller did. And there's that little snippet of film where they sort of zoom in on him. Somebody was filming him before they did a take, and he is just going over his lines, and there's a look on his face of like, I am not remembering this. I think any of us have been on stage, we've been there, where you're like, I have just forgotten everything. Shit.
Right. And they talk about the pressure of those Ed Sullivan show appearances that really made them, really like made their career.
Right. And I wanted to touch on that I was not familiar with their career. Mm-hmm. I knew Jerry Stiller from Seinfeld.
Right.
And was not familiar with this. And especially, I don't think I realized, like, the Ed Sullivan show, like they mentioned this in the documentary, 20 to 30 million Americans tuned in, and it was multi-generational. It was kids all the way through to grandparents sat around the TV watching Ed Sullivan. Yeah, no pressure, right? To be funny or or entertaining.
Right. It's like everyone's watching because there aren't that many things to watch.
Right.
And
back then.
So they had a huge audience, and and they went on the first time and did really well. And so they kept getting invited back, but sort of the understanding was every time they needed to, do the 3-pointer or whatever, comedically every time they went out. And that was a lot of pressure. I can imagine that kind of level of pressure hanging over you. Mm-hmm. And there was, one more thing I wanted to say about their comedy, their team, their way of writing together, I may have lost a little bit of train of thought, but I'm sure I'll get back to it. But, it was that Meara had wanted to be a serious, non-comedic, actor.
Right.
And then she kind of got on this comedy train with Jerry Stiller that was kind of hard to know maybe how to get off of it. Also, they talked about how Jerry Stiller really needed her more than she needed him. But I mean, that's how maybe they saw it, because she was so naturally funny. But at the same time, can you imagine, anytime you try and imagine like some iconic duo, you really can't say like, oh, well, Ernie could have found someone else to be funny with besides Bert. Like, it is, you do find that those perfect combinations, and each one has their own strengths. But what to me gets extra interesting, I mean, all of us, I could have just watched footage about Stiller and Meara and loved that and felt like it was this like fond farewell / sifting through their personal belongings, with their kids. But Ben Stiller kind of took the opportunity to reflect on his own career / marriage / parenting, because really at the time they were doing this, they say this documentary kind of saved his marriage. He had been separated. He and Christine Taylor had been separated.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then through this documentary, they kind of, and the pandemic probably is a good bit of like just everything kind of shut down and time to kind of get together and reflect.
And he said something about he went back to the house with the kids and Christine Taylor for them during COVID. That seemed weird to me. Like, wouldn't that be a group thing, a group decision? But it just, the way Ben Stiller said, I decided I would go back and live with them during COVID for them.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that.
Maybe I misheard, but that just seemed a bit, ooh, what?
Well,
it gave me pause just for a little bit.
I had a little pause here too. There's some things. So like, I think when you say like, oh, I'm also going to be talking about my decisions about as a parent and as a husband and as a, actor, multi-hyphenate, showbiz guy. There's only so much time in a documentary, but I do feel like some of the things that are left unsaid in this kind of said a lot to me. And I always do I don't every time, but like I like to do kind of a justice for segment on this. Like sometimes we're watching a movie and we're like, justice for that character right there. And for me, it was kind of justice for Christine Taylor and also justice for Amy Stiller, who is doing the documentary alongside Ben because she's his sister and they're going through this stuff. She was like the one non-famous, as she says, I guess she ended up doing a show about being the one non-famous member of a famous family.
Right.
I mean, she's had some, fame through different roles, but is probably the least household name of the group. And
and I think I said something like, what, Ben couldn't put her in his movies? And then we discover he had.
Yes, he definitely did. But there's a point where she kind of says like, yeah, and you were blowing up and I'm waitressing. Do you know how hard that was for me? And he just kind of looks at her.
Yeah.
And that, I had to kind of pause it and say like, argh, because like, okay, according to the credits, he did not edit this. But I'm sure he had a whole lot of say in things.
Right.
It seems like he didn't really respond to that, or else he just left it unresponded to in the documentary.
Or if he did, they just left it in the edit. Like, because he seems to just pause for a long time and then they cut to something else. And it's like, that's how you're leaving it?
Yeah, and that is... That has been my experience a lot of times in my life, is like you try to like, you make yourself vulnerable and try to like say something and maybe, to someone in your family or whatever, and you're met with actual silence, like just a stare or something, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And I really felt for her in this because, like, I love talking things out, and I saw that she was trying, and similarly. So, if we're talking about Meara doing a little bit of a sacrifice to her dreams, to be a stage actress, even though thankfully, she did get the opportunity to do that later. Well, Christine Taylor had an acting career. That was I remember seeing her in the Brady Bunch movie.
Seinfeld.
Really?
She's one of Jerry's girlfriends.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm always coming back to Seinfeld.
She's so young. That seems so on brand for Seinfeld. Anyway, but she played like Marsha.
Right.
Yeah, Marsha. Yeah. And she looks so much like Marsha. I was like, this is wild. So anyway, she had a career going, and she married Ben Stiller, and they had 2 kids. And as the kids kind of say in this documentary, like, yeah, we don't really remember you being around very much. And Ben Stiller is saying, like, he's kind of beating himself up a bit. He's saying, like, oh, I thought that I had improved on the model, because it kind of sounds like in the 70s or something, maybe they got just left.
Right,
they just got left alone in the apartment.
They just ran around the apartment complex, going in neighbors' houses. There was no babysitter or nanny or nothing.
Well, the parents were maybe in other cities.
Right.
Yeah, so that's some Gen X action for sure right there. But he's like, oh, well, I felt like I had improved on it, but now I'm not sure. Well, the thing is, his improvement on the model seemed to be that instead of being a comedy duo like his parents, he didn't want to repeat that. Instead, it's more like Christine Taylor becomes the parent, and he goes off and does his whole career and says yes to as many projects, I guess, as he wants to, no matter how much his kids might have protested this. And what I did not hear in this documentary was him ever acknowledge her sacrificing her career as much as they talked about in Meara's choices and her struggle with what she had maybe let go of. He didn't talk about Christine Taylor's choice to be the present parent. He didn't ever say, you've done an amazing job. He doesn't say on camera, I'm sorry, because, she just seems to be kind of like listening to him talk, and she doesn't ever get really praised for her part or apologize to or think. And I just think that if you're going to go there, maybe you need to go completely there.
And that leads me to one of my notes that I took about this is,
yes.
Do you feel that, and this is definitely just a feeling, that when you see documentaries, especially documentaries about celebrity, they're not quite 100% honest. It's like they feel like they're being real with the normal people watching the documentary. Like, look how real we are. We're going through our parents' stuff. They've both passed. Look at the stuff they have. Aren't we just like you, normal people? And I get this feeling in a lot of documentaries that I've watched with celebrities trying to be open. They can't quite be 100% open. And that might just be me, what I glean from it. But I just get that feeling it's been passed through, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a Hollywood filter. They just can't switch it off and be like a real person. So for all of, Ben Stiller's wistful, look at this piece of paper I found with this note from, 1960 something. It's like, yeah, that's touching and heartbreaking. And there's no follow-up. They never say anything like, well, what was this? What was that? It's just the camera lingers on it and you're left with your own emotions going, well, okay, that's memorabilia, but what does it mean to you, Ben?
Right.
Or anyone else in the family. Like, does anyone get to say? Anyway, that's where my mind went as we were watching the documentary. It's
Yeah.
like it didn't feel 100% real.
I think what I walked away with was like, well, it does seem like Ben Stiller and his daughter have like a good
Yes.
rapport.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It seems like, but she seemed like she was doing imitations of him and he was like lapping it up. So, like, I guess it feels like, and I think Amy Stiller mentions this near the beginning, like we were left with we inherited like the tension or the stress or something, like
Yeah.
maybe something that was more, were they trying to say more of a Jerry Stiller thing? I'm trying to remember. Definitely when you see all this footage, you see a lot of like grinning and laughing between Meara and Jerry Stiller, and a lot of happy there is a lot of footage of them all together.
Yeah.
And they keep bringing them on like talk shows to play like atonal violin or whatever. And I think like Ben Stiller maybe just is not, it appears from this, not as free, not as like, obviously he's a super funny guy, but maybe he got that Jerry Stiller, like, did I do it yet? They talked about both of them being kind of like a little bit like crestfallen if the review wasn't great. They just really took it to heart and couldn't let it go, couldn't put it down like a bad review,
And of course, Jerry Stiller's need to collect everything. He collected reviews of all of Ben's films that he starred in or directed, and they keep sort of lingering on these yellowed papers in, plastic protective sheets of The Cable Guy. Well, The Cable Guy got panned by the critics when it came out. I liked it. I liked that movie. But I think the critics did not like that movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, you see Ben Stiller keeps reading the awful reviews it got, and it's like, okay, did your dad really need to keep those?
Leave them for you. Yeah, along with like recorded conversations talking about like a bad phone call with Ben, that Meara had. Yeah, I think like, so yeah, I think what I was saying is like, I think he doesn't have the lightness. And I go back to like one of my favorite Ben Stiller movies is Reality Bites, and his character is so like is so kind of like like preoccupied and stressed out and stuff. And it does seem like Jerry Stiller was able to be really present for people based on everything that's said in this, and just really try to be a really good dad in the times that he was there. I'm not trying to say Ben Stiller didn't. I'm just saying that it really is shown that Jerry Stiller, was it Christopher Walken refers to him as like always being 9 years old or something.
Yeah.
And I think like he just seems like somebody who was a lot of fun, and maybe Ben and Amy Stiller are admitting that they're a little more angsty, and so ultimately you're kind of left with this wistfulness over this like all this great footage of Meara and Jerry Stiller looking young, being hilarious, getting applause, staying together, figuring it out in that way that people from the 60s or whatever, managed to meet, get married a few months later, and stay together for 60-something years, like the way that generation did. And I think like the thing is that parenting, everybody's looking, a lot of pressure used to always be on women to be kind of doing it all, and there's even talk of Meara talking about like, I've got to cook, I've got to whatever.
Right,
You know,
right.
she was probably doing all kinds of stuff and beating herself up for not doing it all, not being perfect, you know, not being the perfect mom. But like in today's society, kids are also looking to their dads to be present.
Right.
So maybe, I don't know if Ben Stiller didn't calculate that, you know, his plan, his improvement on his parent system kind of backfired on him because it didn't necessarily lead to perfect happiness for his kids because they seem a little like they were always sad, you know, when he had to go off to do a great movie that children everywhere were going to love. But what about his own kids, you know? And and some of this is hitting home for me because I was a children's performer for a lot of years. And like there was times when my kids were in the carport while I'm recording, you know, we're recording somebody on cello inside and I'm trying to talk through cello melodies with somebody. My kids are just like hanging out in the carport. We gave them things hopefully to do, but they ended up like going to the bathroom in cans or something like that for recycling. And, you know, when you look back on stuff like, oh, we were playing a show and you were under a table bored, you know, it's really hard. It's really hard to have it all and combine like some kind of success with a career, entertainment wise or other, and also being like having people feel like they were fully attended to. And if you are getting anywhere near doing it right, then it's probably one of the only things that you're doing, and your oxygen mask is really slipping off, you know, as they say. So there's just a lot for parents, a lot for married people to think about, and a lot for anybody out there who tends to mix business with pleasure and, you know, maybe always collaborate with people you're dating, or mainly date people that you collaborate with, that kind of thing, you know, and can you be Stiller and Meara, and is that a good thing, you know?
Right.
So there's a lot there. It's called Nothing is Lost. Like, and I like to think about the titles, but it's like nothing is lost in that Jerry Stiller recorded it all. But also, are we trying to say nothing is lost, like we can still save our marriage? Nothing is lost, or is it? Because you do miss out on moments. And every working dad should probably be struggling with this feeling. And are they present enough when they get home? Not just Ben Stiller, you know, any working dad out there. And, you know, and the working moms are already feeling it, I promise. So, and I'm not trying to, don't come at me, you know, men's rightsers or whatever, like, who follow us, you know, there's quite a lot of them, it seems. No, I'm just kidding. Just, you know, we're just talking about the span of time and what expectations have been over the years for women versus men, moms versus dads. And of course, not trying to be also incredibly heteronormative here either, because it's going to shake out in any set of parents. Similarly, are they both present? Were they both remembered? Being there, you know, adding to the magic. Ultimately, it did seem like there was a lot of magic.
Yeah.
In this, and a lot of experiences to talk about. And in a world of like lackluster childhoods, they had a pretty cool lackluster childhood, if that's what it was.
I like that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So what did you think? What did you think? Did you watch Stiller and Meara out there? What were your thoughts?
Right. Are you a Ben Stiller fan?
I love.
Were you expecting a Zoolander or a, Meet the Fockers? Well, this is a different Ben Stiller, right?
Yeah.
This is a very subdued, very sort of collecting his thoughts Ben Stiller.
Yes, and even though it may seem like I'm being a little critical, I'm a huge fan of all these Stillers and Mearas, so and Taylors and everything, and I look forward also to seeing if Ella and Quinn, the kids, what they might end up being up to too. They seem like really interesting folks. So yeah, check it out. It's really like a really cool piece of entertainment history too.
It was.
So, you really blew it. Just kidding. That's supposed to be the behind-the-scenes tension that we have in our collaboration.
You were being Anne Meara?
I guess. I don't know.
Serenity now!
Ah!